To the stage, ladies and gentlemen, please a warm round of applause for Andrew Manyika.
An hourglass, a pair of wayfarers, a chalice. Hold the image as the tale of the untold damage done to a wax-winged bird, bold in plumage, unfold she plummets. As she's drifting on the ocean, tossed here by the winds of reason and there by the waves of emotion, she tweets to no avail, tries to speak, but does not prevail. As the tide breaks, she washes ashore, she's beached without a sail. We don't outgrow wanting to be touched, and she had never wanted it so much as she did while she waited on the silent sound to say that she could fly again. She lies in the sand and makes a mattress off the grains. With many hours past, she stands at last and shakes those grains into an hourglass and turns it. This is how her time amongst us begins. She has forsaken the form of the creature with broken wings. The bird has blossomed and become a human. Better yet, she has chosen the wayfarer form and become a woman. In the meantime, I put my wayfarers on and I step to the stage because I'm a rapper and I spit with a rage. I scream, I say I'm ill, and I can only get iller. And ladies know love doesn't get much villa. In the arms of a legitimate lady killer, I'm like a lion in wait, but I pounce like Godzilla. As I step off stage, something brings her to my field of vision. As we speak, it clicks that she's here because she followed the links to my site. So I proceed to bind her to myself with a chain made of links to my site. I take my glasses off and let her in. Her hourglass turns, and this is how our time together begins. Months pass, and as we stand after I've caught her, it strikes me how she's such a lamb to the slaughter, a sheep in the big city, or as she puts it, pig city. So it's stagnant, static, but the electricity activates her sexually. When my wayfarer's on, I try to sell myself this illusion that her way is fairer on a road with me, but I'm disillusioned. You see, love or piety won't let me be a Pharisee, and given how far I see, I recognize the truth and abandon the player's doctrine. And without getting a doctor in, I diagnose her heart's condition. She's in love. I try to stop it before she starts the mission, but I'm late. So before this becomes the tale of a tragic blossom, I pull her to the side and try to explain to her that, damn it, due to the former exploits of what I thought was my Magic Johnson, I'm ill. And I can only get iller. And yes, perhaps love doesn't get much realer, but if you choose me, you make me a literal lady killer. Because what's eating at me is lying in wait, but it'll pounce on you like Godzilla. But it's like she's not listening. It's like she's playing at picking Pokemon, pointing a finger at me and saying, Godzilla, I choose you. The paradox of the innocent bystander is that there is no innocence in standing by. So I'm guilty. Because I don't drive home the point that due to what we've done, we are warming ourselves with the fires on the cool side of the sun. We are still burning, and her eyes are churning. And in trying to trace the trajectory of her tears, I lose my way because they're lost in the laughter line still lingering around her lips. She's smiling. We don't outgrow wanting to be touched. But sometimes what we don't choose is by whom, where, or how much. I touched her heart and it splintered. She takes 2 shots. With the first, she clips her own wings. She chooses to become earthbound. She abandons making bird sound. And with the second, she cuts a hole through the hourglass and turns it. And we stand watching our time running out. Finally empty, her hourglass has become our glass, a chalice. And from it, we both take sips. It's an act of love. It's done without malice. But as we do it, all dreams of the future are born, dance, and die in the mingling of our now mangled lips. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. I want to thank you so much for turning out. I would thank you normally for coming out, but I know that today I have to thank you for staying in and tuning in. And I want to thank you so much for making the time and being with me tonight, joining me tonight as I serve you this Valentine's Day for the remainder of your Valentine's evening by giving you a night of poetry and comedy. My name is Andrew Manyika, and I am going to be your host for the evening. And it's going to be an evening featuring a lot of poetry and comedy, as I've already stated. First of all, we just want to welcome all the people that are joining us from around the world. I know that we have many people joining us from several places across the globe. some from right here in Zimbabwe. There's a special group that I'd like to make mention of course, and this is a special group of men who are joining us, tuning in from Men's Conference. I know you're out there. I know you're out there, and I want to thank you for making the time, fellas. You made it. Men who are so powerful in their unwillingness to make some Valentine's things happen that they decided that a free show is the best that they could do for the ladies. Doesn't matter. You're here, however you got here. Thank you for coming in. Amongst you, I know that we have men from the Stingy Men's Association of Zimbabwe. You guys are superstars. You have seen what you can do, and this is it. Allow me to remind you before you go on with the show that there is a competition that we're running where the person who has referred the most people to subscribe to the channel has to then have their name listed in the comments. So as you refer somebody to subscribe, they just say that X, and that is where they put your name. X has referred me to subscribe, and the person who appears in the most comments as having referred the most people wins this bad boy right here. That is Man of Letters, my debut poetry collection from 2019. Very special book to me. It'll be a signed copy, of course, because, signatures. And it'll also come with the bookmark, some of our merchandise, some of our paraphernalia, and there might be chocolates. I don't know. I'll check with the team, but I heard something about chocolates. They didn't give me chocolates, but anyway, it's fine. There might be chocolates. So please continue to comment in the comment section below. Let me know what you think about the show, and let's keep the thing going, man. I'm particularly grateful, of course, for the role that technology has played in enabling a show like tonight to be possible. And I say this, and it's true, but I also do have some reservations about technology and where it's taking us. And the reason why is because I know that we are not all ready for technology at its highest level. All right, I know this because sometimes when I'm walking, I see people bumping into things because they are texting and walking at the same time. We're not ready, guys. We're not ready. Self-driving cars. We're not there yet. And maybe one of the biggest examples of this, right, is those people, those delightful, wonderful, special, remarkable people who answer their tablets like they're answering phone. What is the matter with you? Stop. Okay, what are you trying to say about us as people? Okay. You look like you're answering a laptop, guys. Come on. You look like you're fielding calls for Goliath. You know the giant from the Bible? I can picture it now. Private number, hello? No, Mr. Goliath can't come to the phone right now. Yes, I know it's been 39 days. Look, we've been engaging with the battle with the armies of Israel. He's been talking to them, trying to negotiate. Yeah? No, I'm sure it'll be over soon. How much? Is that bond or US? Okay, look, no, okay. Today should be the last day because it looks like they're finally sending their champion to fight him, although he just looks like a young boy to me. He looks like a shepherd. Huh? No, no older than 16. Yeah. No, he's got no weapons. I think it's just a slingshot. Can I call you back? Guys, stuff. Okay, but whilst we're here, I don't know how you guys feel about the getup. This and I know that we don't dress up much. Do you like it? Are you feeling the vibe? I used to wear suits a lot, obviously now because of lockdown. That's out the window. But I used to wear suits a lot, and the reason why I stopped eventually was because one day a guy comes up to me and says, "Hey man, that's a nice suit. Are you getting married?" I turned to me and said, "No. Those are nice shorts. Are you getting divorced?" He said yes, and I felt like a terrible person. He said, when they say she gets to keep half in the divorce, they mean everything. Like she kept half of my trousers. And I was like, oh, wow. But I can't feel guilty because I don't know how to get dressed for a guilt trip. But I digress. Speaking of dressing up, remember in the ancient past when we used to dress up and go out to do things? Well, I've got a poem from back then, and it's called Make Up Your Mind. Now, the concept of this poem is that it's a man and a woman on the verge of going out for the evening. Now, it's obviously based on science fiction, the stuff that never really happens, because in this story, he's ready first, okay? And then she's still getting dressed. Even though that in real life, women are always ready on time. You guys are known for that. Famous. Worldwide. So yes, in the science fictional tale, he's ready first and she's getting ready. And now this is the conversation that they have. She said, How come you never take off your ties? I said, because you never take off your lies. Wake up, you're fine. You only need to make up your mind. She said, I get that you're the poet here, but allow me to break down my make-up philosophy. I wear it because being colorless means being plain old black and white. And those two extremes are simply too extreme for me. So why don't you, Mr. Poet, tell me something philosophical about looks? I told her, look, if it's philosophy you want, you should really be about books. But okay, I'll buy it. For me, it seems pretty apparent that to you, colorless really means transparent. That more than a disdain for being plain behind color, you seem to find a cloak for your pain. She says nothing to object, but allows me to stand there and witness her process. So she stands on the foundation of the sculpture that she's making to base herself on it. A little embarrassed that I can see all this, she brushes her cheeks with blushes. She's sweet, but even in this she lacks honesty because her blush is paradoxically some permanent shade of 12-hour modesty. Unburdening herself of the epiphany she keeps in the bags under her eyes, they shadow like they're hiding the light of her soul behind thunderous skies. And then she grabs that pencil and lines them up to that ideal image in her mind she struck, and the lengthened lashes of her mascara help her to ignore the mass scarring of her soul, so that off the top of her head she's retelling her tale, but it's just starring the highlights. Her red lips stick together as though joined in agreement that they'll never spill the secret of who she really is. She forgot the concealer, but at this point doesn't really see the need. So, nearly ready to leave, but now, like she's looking for lost change, she's rummaging through her brassiere, searching for leverage against the world, and settles on her cleavage, finding the idea most strange that someone might cleave to her without it. So that even while her push-up bra boils her memory glands, my memory hands me images of a time when she was as simple to read as black ink on white paper. She was a picture whose texture had a uniform feel, but she's pushed up out of my reach on her platform heels. She's done. She's made up a fairy tale. And this construct of her imagination says, tell me I'm beautiful. To which I respond, if the eyes are the window to the soul, then I am a disappointed peeping Tom, because I have been keeping warm off the heat yours generates like a supernova's best, and I return to tell you that you, ma'am, with your colored contact lenses, have a soul which is slightly overdressed. But you're beautiful, and have been so from the beginning. Not the first time a man told you how deep his desire was to hold you, but the very beginning. Not when your body first splitted from prepubescence to adolescence and time chose you to feed new essence, but the very beginning when you, and I know that it's odd, my dear, but it goes back to when you were truer than Athena springing from Zeus's head. You were God's idea. A prime example of his penmanship. A poem pitted to parade his workmanship. And as you go through the motions from fetal position to fatal position, your entire biography has been written in the flawless tip of his endless calligraphy. That's your spirit, the mind you taint, and the body you paint. So wake up, you're fine. You only need to make up your mind. So you're saying I should take it off? No, keep the colors, I like them. I'm saying that the human vessel is inherently imperfect, so that maybe she's born with it, maybe you need to take care. Love the skin you're in. You're both worth it, as long as the option is open and the potion is potent. Sip slow, but when the years make their mark, don't let it break your heart. Just say amen to the omens. But if you insist on battling these 7 signs of aging, please remember the time lining your face is only making your story more worth the paging. That crow's feet and laughter lines are in the nature of a human being, and they only serve as evidence that you have lived, that you have breathed, that you have been. Tell me I'm beautiful, she asks. I wish she understood that she's amazing with or without the masks, that there's nothing I can say or do to add to or take from it. So what is your problem with it? She finally spurts. It's not the makeup I mind. It's just alarming to find that many who wear it are blind to the fact that that which has the power to attract lies not in the face but in the makeup of the mind. You see, beauty is an altar before which we all go, but as you approach his throne, bring small sacrifices. Change your face but don't alter your ego. And when you wake up, you'll find you only needed to make up your mind. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So that is how the flow of the evening is going to be going. Poetry here, comedy there, one man giving all of that to you. And please do let us know in the comments section what you like about the show. Do you like the set design? Do you like these flowers? No, just in case it wasn't clear that this is a Valentine's show, I just decided that we'll make that happen for you. But yes, do you like the flowers? Do you like the suit? Do you like the host? Do you like the poems? Do you like the comedy? Am I speaking too fast? Am I speaking too slow? Let us know and let's interact. Tag your friends, bring them over. Tell them, Iwe, we are on. And then let's see what it is that's happening and how we can have fun together this Valentine's evening. But yeah, man, that was Make Up Your Mind. And I gotta say, wooing people used to be a lot harder back in the day. You used to really have to bring your A game, right? Because back in the day, you used to have to write a 5-minute poem if you wanted a girl to even pay attention to you. Now, you can just send a message like, yo, WUD. Like, what is like a weapon of mass destruction? What are you trying to call me? Are you asking me a question? HBD, LOL. Oh, my favorite, you up? Like, of course I'm up if I'm responding to your message. Like, it used to be a lot harder, man. And that's why a lot of guys are spending a lot of time unnecessarily in the friend zone because they're not putting in the extra minimal effort of just constructing full sentences, guys. And I've got to tell you, like, I've seen people try to break out of the friend zone, and sometimes it works out, and that's wonderful. And sometimes it's not pretty. Sometimes it's not pretty. I'm going to tell you a story about a guy that I saw. There was a guy and a girl. They were walking in town, opposite directions, coming together this way. Right? These people knew each other, but the guy, there's those times, there's those occasions when you think that there's chemistry between the two of you, and it turns out the chemistry was just in your lab, right? Over here by her laboratory, the lab is closed. She doesn't know where the Bunsen burner is. She hasn't seen the magnesium. The beakers have been broken. All of that, right? So the chemistry is here happening by him. And by the girl's side, I don't know the girl's name, but for the purpose of this story, I'll call her Gamchirai. Yeah. Nyadza na Gamchirai. All right. So, so there they are. They're walking in town. All right. Coming towards one another. So then he says, hi, friend. No. In fact, he says, hi, Gamu. And then she says, hi, friend. Gentlemen, here's a clue. If she calls you friend, okay, it is a sign that you are in the friend zone, okay? It is sign number 1, you are in the friend zone. Number 2, she doesn't even know your name, and even if she did, you'd still be in the friend zone. So he didn't read the signs, he didn't decipher the clues. Instead, he goes in for the hug because, guys. So he goes in for the hug. And then Gamu does this matrix maneuver where she dodges that thing and catches him in a high five that he didn't even know was coming. It was the high five heard around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have ever been to a border post, if you've ever been out of a plane and you had to get your passport stamped, you know the sound of that stamp hitting that passport comes with a feeling, right? This was the sound of the passport into the friend zone being stamped. I could just picture it now. Welcome home, sir. Your application for permanent residence into the friend zone has been approved because he lives there now, right? He's not getting out. and it's unfortunate that sometimes you don't get a chance to break out. But it really comes down to wordplay about introducing this idea. And it's because a lot of people lack the words. So I'm here to help you out, gents. All right. So what do you say? Because one of the things that ladies say when they try to keep you in the zone, in the friendly, unfriendly zone, they say stuff like, I don't see you in that light. You should tell her, well, here's some glasses. Try these on and see me if you don't see me in a different light. Alternatively, they'll hit you with, you're like a brother to me. Like, relax. We're not actually family. Calm down. Calm down. Even Abraham and Sarah were really brother and sister, and that worked out. So, let's try this out. And then my personal favorite, right, is I don't want to ruin a good friendship. Look her in the eye and tell her, you can't ruin porridge by adding peanut butter. You're just making it better. Okay? But that's in terms of breaking out the friend zone. But it came to me as an idea then that, okay, if the words aren't there readily available, because for some of us, even myself, it wasn't easy. Obviously, eventually I found the words because, as you can tell, this isn't a fashion, right? But yeah, eventually I found the words, but it wasn't easy because, like, you get nervous. Sometimes you encounter somebody as beautiful as my wife, and you're thinking to yourself, what do I say? How do I get this person's attention? And just that alone, just that thought alone is enough to make all the words that you think you have find their way out through whatever recesses they came in the first place. Because for me, like, you say stuff, super stupid stuff, man. Like, your nose is on your face, girl. What are you saying? What is wrong with this weirdo? And she leaves and you're stuck in the mall like, what did I just do? But, when you think about it afterwards and you realize what it is that you're trying to say, it'll be something like, your nose is on your face, your nose is on your face. I'm trying to associate nose, face, breath, nose. Like, looking at your face takes my breath away. When I see you in the moonlight, I imagine that when the light of the moon hits the skin of your arm, it's like a river of milk running alongside a river of honey, tapering off in the flower petals that are your fingertips. But of course, you think about this 5 hours later when she's gone and probably reported you to the police for stalking. So I decided that what I would do is I would stack the deck. I wrote what I consider to be the penultimate love poem. Not even poem, poem. You know it's real when you put a Y in there. So, and it's called Cedars of Lebanon. So the concept is this. A long time ago, there was a man who was instructed to build a temple. Now, his name was Solomon, and he was the king of Israel at the time. And when it came to him that he had to design and build the structure that would house God himself, he decided, among the materials, I have to include cedar wood from Lebanon. It's a very big part of Lebanese culture, cedar wood. If you check the Lebanese flag, it's actually a big cedar tree. Now, it's because it's strong and it's sturdy, it's reliable, and it's dependable. And he thought, okay, this is what I'll use. So there's an expression in the English language that says, I'm carrying a torch for you. It means that I'm harboring affection for you. It means that I care about you. These are big words, harboring, and on all these other. If you are interested to know the definitions and meanings of these words, keep watching the channel. I've got a new program coming up very soon that's going to be looking at words and their meanings. But I digress. So I'm harboring affection for you. And Solomon decided cedarwood is going to be doing it. So I thought, if I was going to harbor affection for somebody and it was represented by a tree or a torch that I'm carrying for them, what wood would I use? And I decided cedarwood because, if it's good enough for Solomon, it's good enough for me. So here's the poem. They're looking for us to lead them into love. For the longest time, I carried the biggest torch for you. I dug it out of the bleeding bark of a cedar tree of Lebanon. But you don't hear me though. In a treasure trove of cedar groves, there are evergreens that forever grow. Seasons change and it never shows, because these trees, they never stray, save upwards, with the bark that is etched from the marks of the stretch of striving to drink from the clouds while feet stay parched in the earth upwards, with needle-like leaves that are striving to teach buildings what it means to scrape the sky upwards, forwards. I hurtled forward towards this forest, having too often been thrown into the throes of reckless abandon, only to find my soul trampled under souls then recklessly abandoned, having wearied of being wary of false affection and faint fealties, of distressing damsels who disdain detection, whilst in reality they came with a charm that is disarming. They taught me that love is a battle, but I resigned my commission from this army. I was looking for better words for my metaphor, so I put down my pen and my pad, and I tried to shut forever's door. But I was hurled through. Hurt and riddled with scars, I decided to seek shelter in this cedar's shade until it only hurt a little. And when the memory of present suffering had been reduced to a mere murmur in the chambers of my heart, I pronounced that I would love again. And though I stammered a little, I grabbed both hammer and chisel and set to carving. I took the wood from that tree, I fashioned the good that could be, and I made a torch from it. I overlaid it with gold and placed it in my own two hands to hold, so that when I met you, I would have more to present to you than the mere time on my hands. So when I say I'm carrying a torch for you, understand. I dug it out of the breaking bark of a cedar tree of Lebanon. Understand that with more time spent in my hands, it took on features like the fibers of my being, and I hold it out to you in the hopes that when I meet you, I will recognize you to be a woman taken from the fabric of a dream, and you are From the way that you walk like there is a dance bound in your frame, to how even music lacks luster compared to the sound of your name. Your laugh, which is a musician's invention, or your silence, which is a miner's reward. I would that you would take some of that fire in your belly, use that passion to ignite it, and see that I love you from the deep ends of my heart, where the flavors of my affection are concentrated. Like a deep thought, you leave me both shaken and stirred. See that I will proceed to bind myself to you at an altar and suckle the honey from the moon. Because of time without you, I have surpassed my quota. So I'm ready to give you everything. That's every dot and every iota. I would even honor the marks on your celestial body, because I understand these aren't scars. These are hieroglyphs. Hewn into you, I read them, and as I tune into your rhythm, I become consumed by you, my prism. You add color to the light years of my life. So I'm carrying a torch for you. I ripped it, I dug it, I carved it out of the breaking shell of a cedar tree of Lebanon to light the path to the great trees of Mamre, a place where God comes down, because they're looking for us to lead them into love. Thank you. All right. I hope you're enjoying the show, ladies and gentlemen. You can upload for me quietly in the comment section or loudly at the crib, whatever it might be. Speaking of at the crib, I know men's conference, if you need a keynote speaker, I'm available. I can come and do the same poem that I just did for you. But if you're at the crib and you're watching with Bay, whether you are the guy or the girl and you're watching with Bay, and your girl looks at you if you're the guy, or you look at him if you're the girl, and you say, how come you never tell me sweet things like that? Gents, just look at it and say, hey, I brought you here to this guy's page, okay? Let him tell you the sweet things. I introduced you. I introduced you. Ladies, don't put too much pressure on the guys, okay? Let them bring the dough in, or whatever it is that they're doing, and I will bring the words in, okay? Let me do this part. When I just subscribe, bring your friends over, tell them to subscribe, make it light up in the comment section below. I hope the comments are below me. I don't know why I'm pointing there, like there's some sort of strange comment section happening over there. The comments, all right, like in the comments. But yeah, continue to tag the people who have referred you to subscribe to the channel, and remember that they can stand a chance to win the Man of Letters. The person who has referred the most people will win Man of Letters. It's a hard book to miss because, it's got my name on it and my face on it. So, it really sticks out like a sore thumb. But yeah, Valentine's, and this is how we're doing. But that's relationships, man. And they go swimmingly now. A poem like that has been said. The two of you, the fire is burning hardcore, and the love is going strong. You're feeling loved, you're feeling appreciated, you're feeling seen, recognized. All of these wonderful things. You're feeling like, hey, what is the most beloved thing on the planet Earth? I know. You're feeling like a white person's dog. That's how loved you feel. Speaking of dogs, don't trust them. I can't trust them. Not because I'm a distrustful person, but they approach everything mouth first, like it's face first into every situation. And it's a mouthful of teeth. And I know dog owners will be like, oh, no, don't worry, he doesn't bite. Then what are they for in the mouth? Are they for display? Are those display teeth? What's going on over there? Like that can't be true. The real reason is because dogs, there's so many things. Look, they look depressed all the time. Like they have no right to be that depressed when life is going so swimming. Some of them sleep. Anyway, like dogs look like they just found out that their dog died. Like how? And the real reason why I don't trust dogs is because I own a German Shepherd, two in fact. And the whole time that I've had them, neither one of them has shown me a passport, barked in German. I don't, where's the German in them? Do they even own sheep? Where's the shepherd? Look, I can't, there's too much going on there. There's French poodles. Which part of France? Listen. Anyway. But things are going well. And the love is burning strong. And you're thinking, okay, maybe it's time for us to put a ring on it. Put some bling up on it. And you're thinking, okay, we need to do this. But you start to have your doubts. You start to have your reservations. Because if, like myself, you're from Africa, you know that there is the ceremony surrounding the paying of bride prices. Now, I know that they differ from different parts of the continent. In fact, different parts within the same country, like here in Zimbabwe, it might be different depending on whom you're marrying and where they're from. But some things remain common wherever you go. Now, it's called Amalobolo, if you speak Ndebele or Zulu. It's called Rora, if you speak Shona like myself. And what it boils down to is that there are things that you pay penalties called rewa rewa. And you pay these things when you come to pay the bride price, not as part of the bride price, but as penalties for showing up because you came through the front door. Okay. But we also have another process for getting a bride in Africa, and that basically entails kidnapping. It's called musengabere, right? Which literally translates, no joke, you can check this later, but literally translates to carrying your hyena. I don't know why they're calling the ladies hyenas. Ladies, I didn't come up with it. I was just, I was born and it was already there. But basically, it's called musengabere. And the person who does that doesn't have to pay that much, right? He pays a little something called tragirai kuno. It's just a little something that you pay, just to acknowledge that. Got her over here, ransom note, no need to come get her. But yeah, so the thing about these ones is that they're crazy. They're a bit trippy because, okay, the common ones are furamuro, which translates to the opening of the mouth. So I'm supposed to pay money so that you can open your mouth and tell me how much I'm supposed to pay. Who came up with this negotiation process? What? How much Zumbani had they sniffed, okay, before they decided that you have to pay somebody to tell you how much they have to? All right. And then there is Makandin's Wanani. From where did you hear that there is a bride on these premises? When you sent her to buy groceries, did you give her an invisibility cloak? We heard from you when you put her out in the world. Okay? Was this not the plan? Was your intention for her to grow old and die in the compound at the homestead? And then my personal favorite is Matekenyandev, the tickling of the beard. So I'm supposed to pay money because you didn't want to buy shaving cream? Come on, guys. But that's what it is, man. If you love her and you wanna do things on the up and up, that's apparently what you have to go through. But such is life. So sometimes you are willing to go through everything that it takes to get this person to be by your side, and sometimes even destiny, even fate is not on you guys' side. You remember Titanic? They were in love, but the Atlantic Ocean said, "Hey boy, come on over, rest, you're doing too much, Jack. Come, calm down." And sometimes life is the Atlantic Ocean, and it says, "You're doing too much, rest," and you guys break up. It's not pleasant, but it does happen sometimes. There's several reasons why it can happen. Sometimes you guys don't have the same taste in music. Sometimes anything can cause this to happen. I've had some breakups in the past. I'm sure most people have. It's very few people that just go straight to the one that they shall be with forever. But many people have had breakups. And there's some common lines that usually come up when this occasion comes to. It's stuff like, "Hey, I need a little space." What are you, an astronaut now? What's going on? You signed up with the NASA space program? You're working at SpaceX with Elon Musk? When did you start needing space? So I wrote a poem based on the concept of needing space, and it goes, she said, "I need a little space. I need a little time. I need a little something to clear out my mind." I didn't know she was a physicist, or the value that she placed on her experiments, or that I would be one of the many things she'd leave behind whilst looking for pieces of herself in the fabric of space and time. So that's just one of the lines. Let us know in the comments some of the lines that you've had presented to you when they were telling you that they don't want to be with you anymore. Or maybe you are the one presenting the lines. Maybe you are the hot property and you are the one doing the breaking up. Let us know in the comments the ones that they hit you with. Another less common one that I've had to, it's a poem called Refuse. And it's refuse as in trash, as in you treated me like garbage, then decided it was beneath you to be seen sifting through the trash. So you left me lying in a heap, lying in the heap of refuse, keeping company with all the other unwanted things for which the former owners could now find no use. But I'm okay. I'm okay. Yeah, but that's how the breakup story sometimes goes. So sometimes to recover from bad breakups, people discover new hobbies, Sometimes people discover religion. Sometimes people discover food. And the discovery of food, that can be an adventure. You can discover food to the extent that you fall in love with food. You can discover the food to the extent that you might write a poem about food. In fact, I wrote a poem about food, and it's called Ode to Bacon. Bacon! We never knew you. Yours was the sweet savor of a Saturday morning, scintillating scent transcending space and perhaps time, titillating taste teasing tongue and perhaps mind, placed on plates while I cleared the palate amongst taste buds you had pride of place. My mouth was your palace. Bacon. You who moved from forbidden fruit to breakfast table. Oh, the hopeless emptiness when you are absent from the breakfast table. Devoured in a flurry of gobbledygook, we chowed and munched and gobbled. Now look, all that remains is a plate marked with grease stains and the unspeakable question lingering in our brains. Does it really come from a pig's rear end? Oh, my dear, dear friend Bacon, we never knew you. And perhaps that was for the best. But yeah, that's the discovery of food in an attempt to get away from the pain of a breakup. And sometimes the pain is unavoidable. Sometimes you go straight to the feeling of acceptance, but after having passed through a series of emotions. And I wrote a poem called Trajectory of a Tear. And it looks at the idea that perhaps when we cry, it's not tear film forming in the tear ducts and then streaming its way down, but it is an emotion that is triggered in the heart that works its way up and then finally through the eyes and out. And it's called Trajectory of a Tear. Flooding of emotions tugging at the heartstrings, bringing curiosity to the things within the bloodstreams. Open eyes slipped beams of light through the tear duct. In the slip stream tonight with gears stuck, ascends a solitary drop towards the solitary top, as it is battling through the fire line continuum, straddling the space-time continuum to ascend against gravity, gravitating towards the source of the siphon in the duct. It arrives, but doesn't violently erupt. But on reaching the peak, it's tweaking the eyelids, keeping them open, peeking over blurry, sweeping views. As it peeks closer, the eyelid closes. Then it's downhill from here, skirting slippery facial ski slopes, leaving a trail, becoming dismembered, as if to say, don't fail to remember me, becoming smaller with each precious piece. It reaches the precipice where it is catching the light and forcing it to dance within. And then it trembles, and then it tumbles, and then it is hurtling towards the earth, glistening, looking forward to rebirth. But on impact, when listening, hears only the sound of more flooding. So, I don't know if you've been able to see it, but the story of this Valentine's evening, has been me trying to trace the trajectory of a relationship. Maybe from the time when you two meet, you broke out the friendship zone, and now you are here in the relationship phase. Maybe you didn't break up and things were happy, but maybe you did break up and then you had to work through some emotional trauma. Maybe you had to work through some emotional pain. But the next poem is called Defensive Wounds. And it looks at having survived the trauma of a failed relationship or a series of failed relationships. How does a person emerge from that? What kind of person emerges from that? The term defensive wounds was chosen because in forensic science, defensive wounds are the wounds that normally appear on the forearms when one has been attempting to defend themselves, to block the haters, if you know what I'm talking about. But when one has been attempting to defend themselves. So they are often found on victims of violent crime. And sometimes people who have engaged in self-harm also, you might find these same types of wounds on their forearms. And so the concept behind this poem looks at those. And then she smiled. No. That was towards the end, when she was winning. In the beginning, A general cloud of discontent had draped itself like a blanket wet round her from the tears she'd wept, and had sent her on a private searching for insight. And her plight was that she was puzzled by the lack of peace in people, and the ones that she had cut into for a peek at their insides had left her feeling like a puzzle, lacking its pieces in place. Oh, the departure of peace from her face. In those days, she smelt of jasmine. And by the time that they left, they smelt of it too. That's every would-be and every has-been. They landed on her shores to find her presenting olive branches, and having grown up in a time of peace, she was ill-equipped to defend against all advances. So they trampled her flower pots in the search of the samples of the gems in her mind, and having extracted everything, felt they'd reached the end of the line. And with each one's departure, the thought of increasing worthlessness took root and stemmed from her mind, so that even as they uprooted her virtue by degrees, she comforted herself with this mantra that, look, it'll only hurt you when you breathe. If she is a tree, then as she enters autumn, spring is all but forgotten, and beauty is falling from her in leaves. And she was only looking for a little relief, but it is not to be found amongst men, because every he that enters, well, he leaves. And she becomes another notch on a bedpost's frame, and he becomes another notch on a forewarned forearm, something she had taken to doing to blot out the pain. In those nights, she understood her dreams perfectly well. Her struggle was with the aching omens of her waking moments, the sleepless nights under the moon's lighting, in which she engaged in ceaseless fights, moonlighting as a warrior queen. She fights at night because under that light her wounds don't seem so severe. In fact, she wears them like honor badges, so revered. But deep down, she houses a pain deep enough to send boulders breaking, contending with the weight of her world, with the shuddering shoulders shaking, sharpening her shoulder blades of chaos. She was a goddess of war. She was a goddess at war with herself. And whoever strikes, she bruises. Whoever wins, she loses, until she learns that healing is not a matter of time, but of its application, and peace is not a matter of pride, but of supplication. She was looking for solace behind the stains on her glass windows, but even her God was in pain, because the lass didn't know that while she was hacking at leaves and branches as he advances, he's working on root causes, performing a sort of surgery of the spirit. And practitioners of poetry know that these procedures require as much patience as they do precision. He descends on acoustic strings to bathe her again in the light of a truth he brings. He took the girl that she used to be and the woman she could be again, and applied healing to the timeline, suture strings, until she could be crowned again as the once and future queen. And it was then she smiled. And when she smiled, the wind glides past, the wind chimes in her throat. Her laugh is a musical interlude, to the ears a vision. And as each peal rolls off her sharp silver tongue, it leaves in its wake a series of minute incisions, defensive ones. Ladies and gentlemen, viewers from home, men's conference, abroad, Zimbabwe, wherever you might be watching, tuning in from, I want to appreciate you for having created the time and given me the pleasure of your company this Valentine's evening. It has been my pleasure to serve you in this way, to give you this show, some poetry and some comedy, some memories of bygone times when we would be able to go out and meet together. Thank you for having allowed me into your homes. Before I say my final goodbye, allow me just to remind you about the competition we're running, where the person who appears in the most comments as having referred the most people will win a copy of Man of Letters, which is my debut collection from 2019. And by way of goodbye, I would like to also remind you just to continue to check us out in the comments. Check us out by subscribing to the channel so that we can continue to create more of this work for you. And by way of goodbye, now I'm going to share with you a poem from my collection, and then I shall soon leave you to the remainder of the evening. This poem is entitled Goodbye. Goodbye. Wouldn't it be funny if I just ended the poem after just introducing the title? I'm kidding, I wouldn't do that to you. Goodbye. A word built like granite, granting more of take than give, made with more of die than live, leaving bitter aftertaste. After every time I depart in haste, leaving often never feeling the full weight of my departure, fearful that underneath it I would come undone, that I would splinter and break, that I would shudder and shake, that I would stumble and fall, that I would crumble, and all that would remain in my wake is smithereens and splintered dreams and crimson streams and little things, a collage of brokenness. So I steal myself away, counting down the days. It has been a wonderful evening, and I want to thank you for having created the time. Continue to look after each other, continue to take care of each other, especially in these times that we're living in. And I do hope to see more of and hear more from you in the days to come. But until we meet again, good night and thank you.